Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I love the topic for today's podcast because it hits home in so many different ways. It's how to overcome call reluctance forever, 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 forever. It's a two-part show. Yes, Julie and I tell you guys to do what you don't want to do and you don't want to do at the highest level. We ask you to make phone calls. We ask you to have conversations with obviously centers of influence and past clients and all the other sources of leads teach you guys to chase as far as your lead generation goes. But yeah, I get it. A lot of you have call reluctance. You're fearful of doing it. You don't know what to say, how to say it. You don't know how to deal with the rejection. So we're going to be going over, and I'm looking at Julie's notes in tremendous detail, how to overcome call reluctance. And now I want you to remember, we're not going to be able to go over all of Julie's points today. And if you want the points, if you want them in very intricate detail, and you want to have these for your own information, maybe training and coaching your team or your brokerage, always subscribe to our newsletter, harrisrealestatedaily.com. You'll get all the notes, but you're also going to get a video of that day's podcast. So there you go. Now I want to start out by sharing, Julie wasn't knowing I was going to do this. So let's see if I can embarrass her. All right.
All right.
So here is a picture. This is the one you were talking about yesterday. It's those of you who are not looking at us on YouTube. I'm going to put this up close to my camera. All right, that is a picture. Julie, do you remember this picture?
I do. I remember that day.
Tell them about it.
That was at Scotty McBean's in Worthington, Ohio, about halfway between where I grew up and you grew up, right practically across the street from our high school. And that was, I believe that was March when we might have been licensed a week or two. And we were doing some kind of a promotion. I think it was like, there's no such thing as a free cup of coffee. And we were doing like a flyer in the, at the Scotty McBean's. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. And wasn't there, somehow it was connected to a radio show we were doing.
Well, I'm shocked that you remembered all of what you just said, considering this was so long ago. I mean, but here's what I remember. I remember you and I didn't know what the hell we were doing.
At all.
And this is in the clothes we're wearing, we got from a thrift shop. That's the reason it looks like we're wearing somebody else's clothes, because we are. Nothing fit. Yeah. We didn't have the money to buy new clothes because we were paying back our student loans. We got married when we were 20 and 21. And this is when we're also in our early 20s. But here's the moral of the story is if these two goofballs that you guys are seeing right now, if you're watching us on YouTube, can sell over 100 homes in their first year of real estate, you can certainly accomplish your goals too. So
exactly.
I think that's kind of hilarious. There's a date on the back. I'm just noticing for the first time. I didn't want to say it out loud. Let's just say it's more than 30 years ago.
Yeah. And by the way, listeners, watchers, viewers, at that time of that picture, I was still at least a mostly full-time all year round Christmas elf. And you and I had a detail business together. There's all kinds of, we were trying to figure it out.
I love how Julie says things and she doesn't ever explain it. She just said she was a full-time Christmas elf, and some of you are listening going, what the hell is she talking about? Go ahead.
Well, they're in that same town. And in fact, right across from the street from that coffee shop was Christmas Village. And I was working in retail, like as many hours as I could. And you and I were selling real estate. I mean, we would work during the week. We'd do open houses. We'd prospect for sale by owners. We'd go door knocking. We did all the things. I think we literally worked every possible hour to get the real estate show off going.
Our business. Yes. All right. So here's another picture. Do you remember this picture, Julie Harris?
I think that's the radio thing that I was remembering.
No. So this picture was taken after we'd sold 100 houses. This is maybe our second. This is, I think, our second year in business when we sold over 100 homes and we broke all those records. And we were, you can thank my mom for finding these pictures, by the way. And this is the picture that was taken during our Howard Brinton interview.
Oh yeah, that's right. And still in consignment clothes. I remember that outfit actually.
Yeah. You probably do. You look like a superhero with your bright red shirt.
I know.
But the point is, okay, do you remember this picture? No, this is the last picture.
That's where we're starting to get our acts together.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe those weren't consignment clothes. Yeah. But there you go. So we thank my mom for finding those pictures. All right, so let's step back from memory lane and let's get back to work. But really, I'm hoping you guys are getting a good laugh out of those pictures and realizing again that if people that looked like they were basically a couple steps out of the 6th grade wearing their parents' clothes could sell over 100 homes, doing the real work of real estate like we've been coaching you guys to do for so long, then you can certainly do it as well. All right, Julie, let's jump right in and let's help them overcome the fear of call reluctance.
Yes, it leads us right down that path, doesn't it? So Here is at least part of your guide. And of course, we dive into this more in Premier Coaching. But as far as the podcast goes, we're going to dive into how to overcome your call reluctance. It is a career killer for real estate agents. The stomach churning fear of rejection or fumbling a call is a normal fear, but it's not acceptable if you're going to make a living in real estate, much less kill it in real estate. To dominate your market, you've got to obliterate your own call reluctance and make proactive lead generation your obsession. It's a no-nonsense guide that we're doing today. And of course, again, the deep dive in Premier Coaching and Elite Coaching, we're going to give you the proven playbook indeed. And Tim just proved it. We lived that life that we are coaching you to do, to sharpen your skills, to explode your production. So we're going to talk about how to own your phone and as a result, own your future.
Julie, let's set this up. Okay. So why do you want to learn more than ever? Why do you want to learn how to have direct, proactive lead generation conversations? Notice we did not say prospecting. We say, Julie and I will always say proactive lead generation, because there's proactive lead generation and there's passive lead generation. Proactive lead generation is where you are putting yourself in front of, here's how you know whether you're doing it or not. And this will make some people gasp. If you're not putting yourself in a position to have someone tell you no at least 5 times, not the same person saying no, no, no. Cause I mean, we have an 11-year-old that does that with, that's pretty easy to get. But if you're not putting yourself in the position to hear the word no from 5 different perspective, let's say sellers every single day, you're not doing your job. I know that's a high standard, but again, the mindset is what? You need to be putting yourself in a position where you're asking folks to do business with you. And if you're not doing it at least 5 times a day, you're doing probably passive lead generation, hoping and praying that the momentum of your marketing is somehow going to make it so they're going to call you and you never have to get past your call reluctance, and you never have to learn how to, overcome some of the mindset issues you have about potentially hearing the word no. But if you start out with the mindset that maybe it's not 5, but you guys get the point. If you're not having conversations with decision-making adults about buying and selling real estate at least 5 times a day, where they could say no to you, you haven't worked that particular day. Why do I make that standard, the no part? Why is that important? Because it's easy to have conversations that don't lead anywhere. It's easy to have conversations that lead to another lead follow-up call or another, whatever, put them in your drip campaign. That's not what I'm talking about. I want you to get into the mindset that you haven't done your job this particular day unless you put yourself in a position to hear the word no. That's incredibly important. That again, you're shooting above the target. We talked about that yesterday, but that really will set yourself up for long-term success because you're setting your bar at least as high as it needs to be. Julie?
Well, I think that is the difference between proactive and passive. Passive is literally anything where you're waiting or you're speculating. I've spent money on this drip campaign, or I sent out my postcards, or, I luck out. I hear this a lot. Somehow I luck out as soon as I'm about to run out of cash, a past client will arise magically. That's not sustainable. That's not proactive. Okay. So just to put a pin on that, our real point number 1 is what you said: commit to crushing your call reluctance. You've got to be serious about this, not just dabble with it. And to your point, a real conversation, not dripping or opting in or doing all of these things. Success starts with a non-negotiable decision. So commit today to wiping out your own call reluctance. Proactive lead generation is your number 1 job for predictable and duplicatable success. So under that category of making the commitment, we have 4 little bite-sized pieces, and we can go as fast or as slow as you want to through these, Tim. But the first one we cover in spades in all of our coaching programs, and that's mastering proven scripts. The first thing you do is you overcome just picking up the phone. Okay, I can make myself get on the phone. But now you've got to be effective on the phone, and that's where scripts come in. You've got to invest in battle-tested scripts to banish the fear of not knowing what to say. Scripts are just your roadmap to confident conversations and, most importantly, booked appointments. Knowledge equals confidence and ignorance equals fear. So practice with real people. We talked about that yesterday too. Practice with real prospects until you're unstoppable, until you can predict what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, what you're going to say next, and what's going to result in an appointment. That's different than getting free scripts from your Facebook group of realtors that are starting out, or downloading it from Google. Okay. These are proven scripts. We just showed you, we sold real estate for a living, right? So use proven scripts. Next one is to build a proactive lead generation routine. Get your head in the game before you dial. Blast motivational music, hit the gym, role play with your partner for a little bit, and then role play with real people. Find what fires you up and make it a daily habit, because consistency breeds results.
Now I'm going to incorporate a little bit of everything, trying to wrap everything in a nice little bow. Never will you feel like prospecting or proactive lead generation. You're never going to psych yourself into it. You're never going to want to do
Ever.
it. You might occasionally. Matter of fact, when we run across people that say they love, love, love to prospect or love, love, love to proactively generate, that's usually the time when they should retire from real estate, because they've kind of, they've gone too far.
Or
I'm
they're not telling
joking.
the truth.
But even if, I'd never liked prospecting. I liked setting pre-qualified listing appointments. I loved taking listing appointments, but I never liked the proactive lead generation, because you're doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. So understand, you're always going to you're never going to like doing it, but the accumulation effect pays off when you continuously do it. In other words, you're going to get better. Your skills are going to get better. You're going to get more disciplined. You're going to have more of a daily routine. You're going to get better at the scripts, be better at pre-qualifying. But if you stop and you decide to chase down this other whiz bang idea on how you're going to start using branding or whatever, bunch of drip campaigns, you're never going to make any money. You're never going to have a consistent business. You're going to have built nothing, but spent probably a lot of real money and a huge amount of time in pursuit of something. Whereas when you listen to what Julie and I are saying, every single one of you watching or listening to us right now, you know what we're telling you is the truth. You know that if you wanted to take 5 listings in the next 30 days, and if you had that as a goal, and some of you it's easy, you can do it like that. But if you wanted to take 5 listings in the next 30 days, you know as well as I do what you'd be doing. You'd be going after the people in your marketplace to have the hands in the air, the for rent by owners, the expireds, the for sale by owners, and things like that. And we teach you dozens of different lead sources, give you the phone numbers, the whole thing. Yesterday, we talked to you about one of our favorite lead sources when it comes to expireds is Redex. I mean, if you guys aren't subscribed to Redex, I don't know what you're doing. So what Redex does is every single day they go into your MLS, they pull out all the new expires, they find the phone numbers for the sellers, they do the research on the property history, they do everything for you. And then when you turn on your computer in the morning, ideally around 7:30, you're going to see all the new expireds for that day. When you see all those new expireds, do not start researching them. Do not start henpecking which ones you're going to call. Don't overanalyze them. Don't hit up social. Don't do nothing. What you do is you hit the green button and you start calling them, and you use our scripts, and you start setting appointments. That's what you do. That's getting right to the head of it. That's going to, again, you're not going to want to do it, but let's go to the point where, the Michael Phelps thing. That guy had to practice every single day, even after he was a 5 or 6 time Olympic gold medal winner.
Medalist.
And
Yeah.
he had to jump in the pool every morning at 4 a.m. I remember watching a 60 Minutes interview where he was talking about how much he hates it. Well, guess what? You're going to hate prospecting. You're going to hate proactive lead generation.
Normal.
Normal. When you don't hate it anymore, abnormal. So it's no wonder why Julie and I are the only ones in the industry that are still telling agents the truth about how to generate business. And everyone else is selling agents how to, do all this social media marketing and stuff. Why? It doesn't require a lot of skill. It doesn't require any rejection, and it's fun to do. I mean, if you want to do the passive lead generation stuff, the social media, the marketing, the branding, and all the rest of it, do it after you've done the proactive stuff. So be very clear about that. All right, Julie, let's go to point number 2, adopt a fearless mindset. By the way, I'm skipping some of Julie's subpoints for the sake of time. So make sure you guys download our notes, go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. Julie, adopt a fearless mindset. What does that mean?
Well, it means that your mindset should become your superpower, not your kryptonite. Shift from self-doubt to service, and your confidence will soar. Every call is a chance to solve a client's problem, not a judgment on you. That's a big deal, right? Stop making it about you. Make it about how you can be of service, how you can be a problem solver. So lead with service, focus on their needs. And you know what? If they don't need you today, how is that about you? It's just not no forever. It's no today.
Let me tell them that story. So we had a coaching client. He's since retired from real estate. He bought enough rental properties from the profits he made from selling real estate, and now he just lives off the positive cash flow from his rental properties. But I'm going to tell you the story. This was maybe 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And he had a very high level of mastery of the scripts, and he knew how to overcome objections, and he sounded good. His voice inflection when I role played with him on his coaching calls, right? And when I role played him on his coaching calls, I was going like, why the heck isn't this guy setting listing appointments? I mean, he is really freaking good. And I would hit him with, all kinds of harebrained objections. I was, the nut job seller. Boom, the guy was nailing it every single time, not setting appointments. So then I had him record his calls. And when I listened to his calls, he did not sound anything like he did when he was role playing with me. He was a dumpster fire. He was his voice went real high and he was
Weird things
stammering.
happened, right?
Yeah, of course. He had forgotten all of his scripts, all of his objection handlers, and you could hear in his voice. He was fighting like hell to get off the phone as fast as possible. So what he was focusing on is making the dial, making the contact, but he wasn't focused on actually doing the work. So think about RedX, for example. His name was Jeff. So Jeff sat down every morning. He pulled up the phone numbers from RedX. RedX then, gave him the green button, hit the green button. And then what happened was he would get the seller would pick up, and his mind was going into fear mode, fight or flight, right? So he was going to fear mode. Now, by the way, you guys can get a discounted subscription to RedX. Just text the word RED to 47372. Text the word RED to 47372. And when you do, we'll text you back a link and you can sign up with RedX and get a $150 discount. Try RedX out for a month. You'll see frankly, the reason why we're such raving fans of it. So text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372. So he would record his calls. I'd listen to his calls. I'd hear that he lost all of his, his skill basically, and his confidence. So I asked him, so what are you thinking when you're picking up that phone? And he was giving me some sort of, machismo answer. And it wasn't obviously what he was thinking because I'd listened to his calls. So I said, nope, that isn't what you're thinking. You're thinking of something else. So I said, and he was like wrestling with me on the phone. So I said, let's do this. I want you right now to call an expired. And then I was, no, I'm serious. I want you to, no, I'm not, we're going to do it right now. Okay. And then he went to his RedX and he pulled up a phone number, beep, beep, beep. I heard it dialing in the background. I said, all right, I want you to tell me exactly what you're feeling right now. And then he rattled off all these emotions, fear, all these horrible thoughts. What if he says this and he hurts my feelings? What if it all was this interdirected, egotistical, destructive, 100% non-productive way of thinking? Every single ounce of his practice and his potential just was eviscerated because of how he was emotionally reacting to that seller picking up the phone. Gone. Well, made sense. He wasn't setting appointments. So he didn't have to talk with that seller. The seller didn't answer anyway. So I hung up the phone and I said, you see the words you just wrote down? You see the things you just said to me that you were feeling when that phone was dialing? He said, yes. I said, well, no wonder you're not setting appointments. So now I want you to write this down. I had him write this down on a piece of paper. I am here to be of service to you. That's it. I am here to be of service to you. I want you to write that down and I want you to put it right over your computer when you're about to dial the RedX, and I want you to study that. I want you to think about that. I want you to absolutely internalize the fact that your highest and truest purpose in this planet is to be of service of other people. And when you're calling that seller, I want you to think about that person. However they react, your job is to help them. You are a people helper, a problem solver. And he started doing that. And it wasn't right away, but probably within a week or two, he started setting 2 appointments per week, then 3 appointments per week, then 4 appointments per week. And the whole key to his success was he was no longer thinking about how he felt. He was no longer allowing the flight mechanism that's inherent in all of us to take hold. He was now thinking about the person on the other end of the phone. Because the thing about calling people is that for the most part, you are in some cases interrupting them. But if you use our scripts and our systems, you're not annoying them. You're bringing something of value. You are a deliverer of the resolution to a problem. It could be an expired seller. It could be a center of influence past client. You're using one of our scripts and you're congratulating them for the fact that they bought the house 3 years ago and now it's doubled in value. You guys get the point. It's all about your mindset. And the reason that a lot of you guys are reluctant to do the real work of real estate, like proactive lead generation, and the reason you're so attracted to the passive stuff is because you're thinking about yourself. I mean, if you look at any of the socials, that's just a narcissistic cesspool of look at me. Look at me. Why am I not, I'm important. I'm all these things. No, the real key to success long-term is not thinking about yourself. It's counterintuitive. It's thinking about the other person. It's thinking about how can I help this person? When the seller picks up the phone and Jeff started realizing this person, he would feel his emotional reaction to that person. Maybe he could feel their stress. Maybe they said something snarky. Then he was reminding himself, my job is to be of service to this other person. The reason that they're probably reacting that way is probably because the lack of a sale of that house expired again, just to stay on that as an example, that is something that's causing them a lot of stress. Maybe there's some life-changing event going on. Maybe they have to sell the house in order to, buy a new one. Maybe they got relocated, maybe whatever, all these things, right? So start focusing on what you are really truly here to be, what makes you feel the happiest. It's when you're helping somebody. The making of the money is the byproduct of being of service to somebody else. And your job, if you choose to accept it, is to become the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner. And hopefully that little coaching example helps you. Julie?
It's a great example. And we have so many of them, of those aha moments when the agent finally says, you know what, when I stopped making it all about me, the calls miraculously got so much easier, right? Excuse me, makes a huge difference when you get out of your own way. I want to talk for a second about when you are powering through this, you're getting better at it. Now you've moved away from making it about you. It does matter who you are proactively lead generating with. It matters who you're calling, okay? Proactive lead generation with purpose. I'm not talking about random circle prospecting. That's like calling the phone book. That's, probably even less efficient than door knocking. At least door knocking, you're face to face, right? So call, for example, this is a great sort of entryway into being proactive. Make a list of your buyers who you can't find property for, and proactively prospect into the neighborhoods that they've said, I'm dying to live in this neighborhood. That's a very meaningful call. You're being of service to the buyer, and you're potentially being of service to a seller who's not even on the market yet. And when I have agents do that, they always feel like the call goes better because they're talking about something that they're connected to, and they're being accountable to the buyer who has signed to be working with them and expects them to be finding them a house. So that's one thing that can be very productive. According to the National Association of Realtors, there were 243,000 for sale by owner sales last year, 365,000 expired listings, 81,000 probate leads, and 67,000 divorce related sales. Okay. These are all people who absolutely have to sell. Why would you randomly call a circle prospecting dial?
But the point you're making is it's not enough just to say I made my contacts or I made my dials.
I hate that.
It does, because it's a waste of time. So calling around your listing. You're calling
That's
a bunch of
okay.
people.
Around your own listing is okay.
Well, but calling around your listing, just as an example, you're calling people that aren't actually in the market. What you're really doing is, using our scripts, and you're inviting them to a neighbors only open house. Mm-hmm. The idea of you're going to start a long-term relationship with them when they think about putting their house for sale, that type of thing.
But they don't have their hand in the air in the same way that an expired, a for sale by owner, a for rent by owner, a probate lead, a divorce lead, who clearly needs your help. Be a problem solver.
That's right. I mean, for example, the Red X thing, text the word red, RED, to 47372. I bet you right now, if you guys really want to be shocked, go into your MLS and do a search for how many expired listings there were in your entire MLS, not your just little tiny little market, your entire MLS. And I want you to just do a search for expired and withdrawn. You will be shocked. I've done this exercise on many different, live, whatever. And everyone says, oh, there's no expireds in our marketplace. Oh, everything sells here in 2 seconds. I had this recently with somebody this is a super hot market. There's nothing for sale. And in the last, if I remember correctly, when I did it with this person, in the last 90 days or something like 800 expireds. Now, here's the good news. There are lots of everything all the time. No matter what direction the market's going, there's always going to be sellers that have to sell the house. Last year was the crappiest year in real estate in terms of real estate transactions of resale homes, and pretty much forever. There were still 8 million real estate commissions that were earned last year. 8 million, there are 4 million sides, 4.1 million sides, times 2, assuming there was a buyer's agent involved. That's a lot of money. If you are one of the 71% or a member of the 71% club from last year that didn't sell a house, I bet you it's because you were not doing the proactive lead generation, actually calling the people who have their hand in the air and say, yes, I want to sell my house. It's up to you now with this information that Julie and I have just given you. And tomorrow we're going to pick up on part 2 of this series on how to overcome call reluctance. And today what we've shown you is when you follow a plan, when you start with the mindset of service, when you build a schedule around when you're actually going to do it, building momentum and becoming more and more successful in real estate is so much easier than what you actually think or what you've been told. We're advocates of teams and brokerages and all the rest of it. You just got to make a decision about what's best for your lifestyle. The movement towards this big movement towards having big, my goal is to sell 25 houses, then I'm going to sell 50. I'm going to hire 2 assistants. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You have to realize that a lot of times you guys are being pressured to make decisions that are not necessarily in your own best interest. You need to do your real estate treasure map. You need to know what your personal actual, we talked about this on yesterday's show. Look at yourself and think of yourself as the CEO of a business, as the owner of a business, because you are both. And think about what my goals are going to be. And think about what's the quickest route for me to accomplish my goals. I'm going to shortcut the learning curve for you. It's being a listing agent, learning how to be a proactive lead generator. And one of the key elements in doing both of those things is going to learn how to overcome call reluctance. So this was day 2. This was day 1. Tomorrow is day 2. In the meantime, if you guys have any show suggestions or ideas, please do message Julie and I, direct message us over on Instagram. I'm sorry I was a little late. Recently we were traveling, and we're doing a lot of masterminds lately, but do please direct message us over on Instagram. And we love your ideas. We love, obviously, any kind of suggestions, any sort of,
We take
aha
special
moments.
requests. A lot of our podcasts, especially lately, have been because coaching clients and certainly podcast listeners have said, hey, I can't get over my call reluctance. Can you help me? So we absolutely are listening.
All right. You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.